Okay, Ben, we're back. Welcome to your next lesson for this week, and we will gonna take up about changing fraction into ratio. Last meeting we discussed about changing decimal number into percent, and we did also uh, changing percent into decimal number. Okay, so this time we're gonna change fraction into ratio, and this is very uh, easy. Why? Maybe because we're just gonna change the fractional bar into a ratio. Okay, so ratio looks like this. Okay, we have two points, uh, one above, one below, just like a colon, and the point above is read as is, and the point below is read as 2. Okay, so meaning if we have a ratio, it is read as is 2. Okay, now how do we change now fraction into a ratio? It's very easy. Okay, just change the fractional bar into a ratio. Arrange the numbers um, horizontally, changing the fractional bar into a ratio. How? Copy the numerator, put the symbol of the ratio, which is like a colon, two, two, 2 points, and copy the denominator. So if we're going to read this, 4 is to 5. Okay, so it becomes now a ratio. We're gonna explain a ratio further in our preceding lessons. Okay, but for now, just this. Okay, so 4 over 5, to change this fraction into a ratio, just arrange them horizontally, copying the numerator and the denominator, changing the fractional bar into a ratio. Okay, so the point above here is read as is, the point below here is read as 2. So if we're going to read this, 4 is to 5. Okay, now here you have 6 over 15. You want to change this into a ratio. Now let's copy the numerator to 6, change the fractional bar into a ratio. Okay, and copy the denominator. So 6 over 15 becomes 6 is to 15, because we changed the fraction form of 6 over 15 to a ratio. Okay, now before proceeding, how about if we are going to change this fraction into a decimal number? Okay, in our previous lesson about fraction, then we already discussed that, changing fraction into a decimal number. How? By dividing the numerator to its denominator. Now if we divide them, we become 4 divided by 5, or 4 5. Okay, 4 for our amendment, 5 for our divisor. Okay, and if we are going to divide them, okay, just a review for our lesson previously. First, just put a decimal point here. Why? Because 4 divided by 5 is kind of clean. You cannot divide 5 out from 4 because 5 is greater than 4. So all we need to do is add the 0 here. And by adding, we need first to put a decimal point because we are now below 1. Okay? So it becomes 40. And our answer here will be on the 90. And we have 0 here because we are dealing with decimal point already, or decimal number already. So we have 40. Now 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay. Now 8 times 5 is 40. Now 40 minus 40 is 0. Okay. So we have 0.8 as a decimal number. So we change 4/5 in fraction form to its decimal number. Okay, which is 0.8. Okay. Now if we gonna change them, let's do this first one by one. Now 4/5, we want to change first into a ratio. Okay. Now the ratio is 4:5. And that's the ratio. Okay. Now for each decimal number, that's 0.8. Okay. 0.8. Now how about if we change 0.8 as a decimal number into percent? Okay. So we have discussed that in our previous lesson. To change the decimal number into percent, just move the decimal point 2 steps to the right and drop the decimal point here and change that into percent symbol or sign. So let's move 2 steps to the right. 1, 2. So we have here a blank number. Let's add 0 so that we have 2 steps. We move it 2 steps. Okay. So drop the decimal point. Change the decimal point into percent symbol. Okay. So we have now 4 forms of the number. Okay. 4/5 for its fraction form. 4:5 for its ratio. We have 0.8 for its decimal form. And we have 80% for its percent form. Okay. Now all of these are just the same number in different form. We have fraction, ratio, decimal number, and percent. Okay. How about we do this one? Okay. So let's just say let's change it first into a decimal or decimal number. Okay. So we have 6. We're gonna divide 6 divided by 8. Okay, or 6 here divided by 8. Okay. So to divide them, we cannot divide because 15 here or 6 divided by 15 is cannot be because 15 is greater than 6. So all we need to do is add 0. But before that, for adding 0, let's put a decimal point here because we are dealing now with numbers that is less than 1. Okay, so we have now 60. So we can divide now because 60 is greater than 15. We have 0 here. Okay, to make our answer decimal number. Now 60 divided by 15 is 4, right? Because 15 plus 15 is 30. 30 plus 15 is 45. 45 plus 15 is 60. So we have 4. Okay. So 4 times 5, we need 0, carry 2. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. We have 16. Now 16 and 60 is 0. So our answer will be 0.4. Now let's do the form. Okay. So let's change here 6/15 into a ratio. Now how? By copying by arranging them to horizontally, copying the numerator, changing the fractional bar into a ratio or column. Choose 2 points here and copy the denominator. Okay. So it becomes 6 is to 15. So that's the ratio. Now for our decimal number, that's 0.4. Okay, the decimal number of 6 over 15. Now let's change this into a percent. How do we change that? Just move the decimal point to the right, 2 steps to the right, dropping the decimal point here, changing it into a percent sign or symbol. So let's do that. From here, 1, 2. So we have the point here, the decimal point, but we have 1 step which is blank. So just put some 0 in it. 0. So that we move it 2 steps to the right. Okay? So drop the point here, decimal point, and change that into percent. So we have 40%. So for our answer here, 6 over 15 is the fraction form. Now for this ratio, it is 6 is to 15. And for its decimal number, that's 0.4. And for its percent, that's 40%. So all of them are just the same number. The same number in different forms. Now let's solve some more examples about this one. Okay. Let's 3 over 8. Okay. And 4 over 2 plus. Okay. Now 2 fractions that we want to change. Okay. Now we have 3 over 8. Now first let's change this first into a decimal number. Okay. So to choose this, we divide 3 with 8. It becomes 3 divided by 3. Okay. So 3 divided by 8 is cannot be. Why? Because 8 here is greater than 3. So how to divide them? We need to answer them in decimal number. Okay, so we're gonna add 0 here. Okay, to make the number 2 digits, so that we can divide already. Okay, so 30 divided by 8 is 3. Okay, so we have 0 here. Now 3 times 8 is 24. Minus. Okay. So 30 minus 24 is 6. Okay, so 6 divided by 8 cannot be because 8 is greater than 6. So let's just add 0. Okay, so it becomes 60. So we can now divide. Now 60 divided by 8 is 7. Because 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, so let's subtract. 60 minus 56 is 4. Now 4 divided by 8 is cannot be because 8 is greater than 4. So just add 0 here to make bring down 0 to make it 40. So we can divide. Now 40 minus 8 is 5. Or 40 divided by 8 is 5. Now 5 times 8 is 40. Okay. Now 40 minus 40 is 0. Okay. So we have 0.375 for its decimal number. Now, if we are going to give its other forms, let's change 38 into a ratio. It's very easy. Just copy the linear north arrange them in horizontally to the numerator. Change the fractional bar into a ratio, which is two dots or 2 points, and copy that denominator. So it becomes 3 is to 8. Now, for this decimal number, that's 0.375. Just simply divide the numerator to its denominator. Okay? Now, let's change this into a percent. 0.375. Now, to change it to percent, just move the decimal point 2 steps to the right and put the percent symbol. So, 2 steps, 1, 2. So the point is between 7 and 5. Remove this and change into percent. It becomes 37.5%. Okay? So let's answer this. 4/55. Let's change this first into a decimal number. Okay, so it becomes 4 divided by 55, or 4 divided by 25. Okay, so 4 divided by 25 is cannot be. Why? Because 25 is greater than 4. So we can answer this by making it a decimal number. Okay? It's less than 1. So we have 0 here. To make it a 2-digit number, we can now divide. Now 40 divided by 25 is 1. Okay? Now 1 times 25 is 25. Subtract. Okay? 40 minus 25. 0 minus 5 becomes 3. 4 will become 3. 0 will become 10. And 10 minus 5 is 5. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have 15. Now 15 divided by 25 is cannot be. So let's add 0. And down 0, we have 1. Okay? Now 50 divided by 25 is, let's try 6. Okay, now 6 times 5 is 30. 0 carry 3. Now 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. So we have 1. 50 minus 150 is 0. So we have 0.16. Okay, so 0.16 for our decimal number. And if we are going to give the other forms, let's give the ratio of 4/25, that is 4 is to 25. Okay, for each decimal number, that's 0.16. Now let's change 0.16 into percent. Okay. From the decimal point, 2 steps to the right, drop the decimal point into percent. So 2 steps, 1, 2 here, 2% here, and this it becomes 16%. Okay, so fraction form, ratio, decimal number, and percent. All of them are the same number, just in different form. So let's have one last example. Okay, to wrap our lesson up. Let's have an easy one. 1/5. Okay, so for each ratio, that's 1:5. Okay, for each the decimal number, let's divide 1/5. Okay, so 1 will cannot be, so let's borrow 0. It's 10. 0 here. Now 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. We have 0.2. 0.2 for its decimal number. Now let's change 0.2 into fraction or into percent. 0.2 from the decimal point, just move 2 steps to the right. 1, 2. So we have the decimal point here, but we have a blank number here. Just add 0, so we have made 2 steps to the right. Drop the decimal point into percent. So it becomes 20%. So our answer is 1/5 for 1/5 for its fraction form, 1:5 for its ratio form, 0.2 for its decimal form, and 20% for its 20% form. Okay? So that's how you change fraction then into a ratio. Changing a fraction into a ratio to a decimal number and to a percent. Okay? So that's it for now. Thank you for your time, Ben. See you next lesson.